Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now let's welcome your host, founder, and CEO of Women Talk, Bridget Lessard-Diel.
Have you ever wondered about her? Yeah, her. You know, inside of you that's always been there, that sometimes gives you advice. Janice Doherty did exactly that. After the passing of her mom, Janice quit her corporate job and got in touch with her feminine energy and gave birth to HERwithin, a personal development program that connects women with their inner her. Janice says, it is not intuition, it is her. Let's listen to Janice's story.
A few years ago, we were rather shocked when we found out that my mom had ALS, and she passed away within 4 months of her diagnosis. And I had a conversation with her. I knew there was something inside me that wasn't coming out, something that I needed to fulfill or discover or something like that. So after her passing, the first thing that I did was I left my corporate job because I knew that what I needed to do was something that I was not going to get from another company. It was something that was within me. So I left my job, and then I started getting head on into podcasts, and I started listening to them every single day. I put on my headphones, go outside on the deck. It was a beautiful summer, a beautiful June a couple years ago. And I would just sit out there and listen to them and listen to them and listen to them. And I heard one by a lady named Lori Harder, and she was interviewing this lady that just caught my attention. And I thought, I need to find out more about her. And then I found out she had a podcast. So I started listening to her podcast. And then I had a girlfriend who asked me if I wanted to help her down the Stampede. So I wasn't working. So I thought, yeah, I can do that for 10 days. So I, on the way home one day on the train, I was listening to another one of these podcasts by Elizabeth. And it's called Untame Yourself. And at first I thought, untame yourself. I live by rules. This is not going to be a good thing for me. But it's untaming the rules that you have within yourself. And I got so hooked on these. And as the LRT is going down the road, I heard her say, oh, and don't forget, we have a retreat coming up at the end of July. And I kind of sat up and I'm like, she's got her treat. I'm looking for a treat. This is the real thing. So I sent her an email on the train, and then I got home and she sent me the application. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go do this. And little did I know it was only 10 days later that I was in a yurt in Oceanside, California. I rented a car for the first time by myself. I'd always had a husband do that before. So that was an adventure on its own, driving from San Diego to Oceanside. And then I spent 3 days in a little bungalow by the water, and we would go inland to where this yurt was. And for 3 days, the only way I communicated was I'd start crying, and then all my information would come out. And we spent 3 days peeling away layers of stuff. And I'd been through a lot in the probably the 10 years leading up to all this happening. But like a woman, I'm strong. I can bury this. I can just ignore it. It's fine. I'll be okay and carry on. But all that was causing a lot of internal issues and emotional issues and a lot of stuff. So I started peeling all this stuff away, and my life started changing. And I had gone to my naturopath because I told him I had gone to this retreat, and he said that now that I've made this connection with myself again, this next cleanse will be a whole lot easier. And I thought, okay, fine. take that information, go out to my car, and I sat there and I thought and I thought and I thought, and then I started to cry and I thought, there's a connection. There's something that has been disconnected in me. And I was trying to figure out what it was. And I think it's something inside me. And then this, I don't know what it was, this thing happened. And I thought, it's her. It's my original operating system, who I originally was, that has been buried and buried and buried by so much stuff. And then I just thought, HERwithin. Oh my goodness. I need to do for women what I just had done for me. So that was coming up on 2 years ago. And it's been an interesting roller coaster, figuring out what it is I want to do, how I want to do it, who I want to do it with. And it takes a turn every once in a while. I just had another one yesterday, but I just follow it. And now that I've got this connection. Funny story. We were in Walmart, I think it was yesterday, looking for this plaid thing my husband wanted. And we come to an end of an aisle, and I'm standing there and I'm looking like off to the side like that. And he says, where are you going? I said, I don't know. I have to go that way. So we went that way and nothing. And then we just kept walking. And then I saw something pretty down an aisle. I went, oh, look at this. And then I turned. I needed a task lamp for my office, but I totally forgot about it. She knew I needed a task lamp. So that's where she got me to go to. So now that I've got that deep inner connection, it is amazing what happens, how I feel, how I let things just bubble up. If there's an emotion coming, I don't stop it anymore. It just comes and I let it go and I'm fine. Other than burying it down there and stewing for days and days and days and then just bursting into tears for no reason whatsoever. Now I have a reason that stuff is coming up and I make it do its complete course, and away I go. I think that probably covers HERwithin in a nutshell.
Do you want more out of Women Talk? Sign up for our Women Talk membership today. Receive discounts at all of our live events, talk on more stages, receive free monthly webinars, or host a webinar yourself. Join this powerful sisterhood we call Women Talk. Visit womentalk.ca/membership to join at 70% off for a limited time only.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, so your company, HERwithin, who do you work with?
I work with women, women between the ages of 40 and 60. And because that seems to be the point when the phrase midlife crisis, it's a real thing. It doesn't need to be called that, but it's a real thing. And it's like an awakening that happens. And we need answers. We need to know, like, why is this doing this? And between the ages of 40 and 60, that's when we start to hone in on that and ask the questions why, instead of, oh, well, I guess that's the way I am.
Yeah, like I myself, I see it over and over. It's truly amazing. Now, one of the things that I found, and I'd love your opinion on this, is a lot of women, especially in the corporate world, kind of live in their masculine energy where you just, you squash that intuition. You're in your mind, in your head, competing, doing, the logical, and then you make it to the top and you get there and you're like, is that it? And there's this thing that happened. What do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was an at-home mom for 15 years, raised 2 boys, and I was the dominant one in the house. My husband, my first husband, was going through a lot, and that's what inevitably ended everything. But I was the one. I acted, thought, felt, dressed. I was like the man. I was
the masculine energy.
Exactly. And I made stuff happen. But during all of that and powering through, I was knocking her to the side, left, right, and center. And I had lost that connection. So women who rise to the top in the corporate world, and I've worked with a lot of them, when they rise to the top in the corporate world, they're very strong, they're very doers, but they've disconnected from feelings and emotions and things like that, which is what makes us a woman, because we have so many of them and so many of them flow through us, that when you lose that, you become hard. And there's the femininity, the softness of that side is gone. So, and that's one of the things that happens when you reconnect with your HERwithin, is that she blossoms again.
I love it. Just love it. Now, why do you think the death of your mom brought you there?
I would say, well, interestingly enough, my mom was an at-home mom forever. She never went back to work. And I followed in her footpaths for how things were done. There's rules. Everything's black and white. This is the way it is. No, I can do that. You don't need to get on the ladder. I can put the Christmas lights up myself, that type of thing. And when she had mentioned the regret, her regret was because she didn't travel. She spent her time looking after her garden, which was phenomenal, but she didn't take that time for other things, for herself, to go on an adventure. She had her rules, and she was always stuck in those rules of as when things would happen, how they would happen. And when you're gardening, you've got seasons that you go through. And I thought, no, I can't live with that regret of not doing that thing that's just going to make me come alive. And I've traveled, I've got kids, I've remarried, I'm a stepmom to 3. There's so much that has happened. But inside, I knew there was something that hadn't been fulfilled yet. And the conversation with my mom about regret was like, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to fulfill that thing that's missing.
So what kind of modality do you use with women to help them connect?
Well, I'm in the process of designing a lot of different ways. I have one program called HERwithin Transition, and as we go through life, we go through so many transitions, and a lot of people don't understand the big chunky bits of a transition. It's like, oh, this ended. Okay, now I'm going to do this. And there's a big magical part in the middle there that a lot of people just step over and carry on with. And I worked with 5 different women that, it's the best way to put this. 2 of them had nuclear meltdowns on the same day in the same part of the program. And that was the point that I thought, this is incredible. More women need to understand these steps. So I will do one-on-one work with people in that. I've got workshops that I'm planning for the HERwithin transition, as well as the very first step of HERwithin is find her, trust her, love her. And those are the just the simple pieces to get back in touch with. And that's what I did in a different way when I was in the yurt. And I'm also working with Vingo Paint and Sip, and I've got a paint night coming up, and we're going to be painting the transition tree. So it's the tree of the 4 seasons, but I'll be having the conversation with everybody about the different steps of a transition, and then coming around to summer, which is your life.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you kind of do some teaching while people are painting?
Mm-hmm.
And why painting?
I I love painting. I'm not a good painter, but I love it. It's just the freedom of doing it. And the reason that I I met the owner of VinGo at a networking event, and we just got talking. And she says, "Oh, I love this whole transition thing." And I have a tree that I use in my program, and I've been to VinGo. I love VinGo, and I thought I think this would be a great marriage. And as there's a difference between reading something, painting something, or drawing something, and understanding what's happening in yourself that relates to the seasons of a tree. And at the end of it, they'll be flipping over the painting and then writing their own comments on the back within each season of the tree.
Oh, I love that. It's a great metaphor. It's really cool.
It's wonderful.
How did your husband feel about this new interconnection? Did it affect your marriage for better or worse? Like, how does that work with, because, guys, I think sometimes they look at us going, what is going on? Some guys get it, but some guys don't. So how was it for you?
I have the most patient husband. It's incredible. He knew what I had come from and what I was stepping into as a stepmom, as the new puppy in the pound is what I call it, in a house of 4 people who are already, they had their own groove going, and it's like, here comes Janice. And I'm not one of those type that just parachutes in. I'm more like that grenade that comes in and blows a few things up and then moves stuff around and rearranges the living room on a weekly basis. But it's been very interesting having somebody as strong as he is, allowing me to just peel away the layers. And when I have one of those moments of, I got to talk to you about this, then the joke is, it's called the Doherty head nod, and he just sits there doing this. It's like a bobblehead. And he just listens. And that's a huge thing for a human being, is to be acknowledged, to have somebody hear, and Women Talk, have somebody hear your story and acknowledge that they've heard your story. So I don't know how many transitions within HERwithin I have been through, but he's been right along there beside me the entire time, which has been a godsend. But it's interesting because he's starting to say things like, well, it looks like the universe was telling you, and I'm like, you're talking my language now.
Totally. I love it. And, I think the world is shifting. Like, a lot of people are talking about this shift happening right now where, we're going towards the feminine energy a little bit more. And, sometimes having some very masculine leaders like Donald Trump are totally in the masculine space, kind of makes people react. Like, what do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. I just had this conversation the other day. And I had said, even though Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, he's stirring the pot. And then once he stops stirring the pot, all that stuff floats to the top. And all the things about, like the women's marches down there, the Me Too's, all of those things they're stemming from him. And as much as we don't want to acknowledge what's happening, his situation is having all these other situations bubble up to the top, and now they've got to be dealt with. So whenever I see a movie, or like I was watching Star Trek the other day, and it's women are in the leading roles in this, and then you've got Wonder Woman, you've got all these different things, all these women are coming up and taking control. Like, it's so awesome.
I know. I just love it too. And I always wonder, where is it all going to go? Because I think a lot of men are also not happy being in that like super hyper masculine place where they're not allowed to have feelings or cry or talk about the universe is telling you something.
That's true. And I find when my oldest son, who is all over the place. He's a musician, he's a photographer, he's a videographer, he wants to go to Olds College, he wants like all this stuff. And it's like, and now we have these incredible conversations about alignment and about how I see things. And, raising a child, he was the one that was like, as I was raising him. But now it's like he's come to this point where we have this connection. We have this inner connection that we get each other. And he has no problems showing me his feelings. My husband is doing the same thing. He has no problem showing me his feelings. And I guess if a guy is in the right place, the right time, the right person, and they feel comfortable, then they will too. And that's what we need, more of us out there, so that these guys can let go of the stuff. Because how many guys have stomach issues and heart attacks? I've 2 people, that one last week, a guy I went to school with, and the week before that was a girlfriend's husband. Heart attacks.
Yeah, and I think that's why they die younger, like they just are not allowed to let it out.
Exactly. And if you you're not crying like a girl, you're a human. These are emotions. Let them come. Let them just bubble up and disappear. It's like a fountain overflowing. It's going to come up, but what do? Stick a cap on it? No. Let it keep bubbling up.
So if people would like to find out more about you and sign up for your workshop, where would they go?
Find out more about me as HERwithin.com, or I have a Facebook page that has, I think we're coming close to 600 women, and Instagram, HERwithin, and the workshops are in the process of being created right now. The one at VinGo, it's on their website as a temporary. We're waiting. She's actually creating the painting for me. It's one of a kind. It's not something pulled off the internet or something like that. So I'm hoping by the end of February I'll have that. But if people need to find out a little bit more information about that, they can just go to VinGo, and it's April 10th is the date for that. And I am doing a woman talk in Okotoks on March 20th. So I'm doing my first talk on the day of my son's 28th birthday.
Oh,
so
wow.
Another birthing on March 20th.
That's going to be awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing the story of HERwithin. It's, I think it's something that's really needed by a lot of people.
If you have a burning desire to share your story with our audience, apply to be on our podcast. To apply and find a full list of our podcasts, go to www.womentalk.ca.